Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone Talks. We have a special one for you tonight because for the next hour, we're going to be talking to Jack. And as you know, we do have Jack on the panels, but he never really gets a chance to talk because of certain people out there, including myself. I have to say, if I'm going to rope other people in, I also must blame myself as well. So, as promised, I did say I'd do this stream with him. So, we're going to be talking about RTD and what that means for Doctor Who. If you haven't seen the video that I just dropped recently, Bad Wolf TV, the production, basically the account that's run by Bad Wolf Studios, has admitted by retweeting an article that says RTD is back to save Doctor Who for a second time. Also in the same video, I made a little tiny boo-boo in the two polls that I shared in the video. One of them is actually still active. The one, as I said, from the account that attacks people that haven't liked this area. It's still active, but Peter is still winning in the poll. Now, I did leave a message in the video in the comments section. It was only after I had posted the video I realized that there was still 5 days left in the poll, but it does still demonstrate that Jodie Whittaker is losing in that poll. She is last as it currently stands, which is quite shocking. So there's a lot of revelations now. Obviously, this Bad Wolf thing happened on the 24th of September, and it kind of went under the radar, and I don't normally miss a beat, but I'm trying to think back what we were doing on the 24th of September that maybe got me distracted, because I normally don't miss a thing like that. You all know that, and I did. I think it was reported by the Spacebook on the day, Dan from the Spacebook on the day. So give them credit there for that. Nice little find. Obviously, it's being brought to my attention today. So there's a lot of things. Look, media as well coming out. As I said, all of a sudden coming out and criticizing this era. And it looks like Jodie Whittaker isn't as popular as she was, or as people made it out to be. Now, coming soon, we're going to be doing a lot of the old familiar streams. So we will be bringing back this. Yeah, we'll be bringing it back. We'll be talking Cobra Kai. We'll be talking Ghostbusters Afterlife. We'll be talking Lost in Space, the final series, Series 3. And obviously, when Spider-Man No Way Home releases as well, we will be talking about that. That will be coming back soon. But without further ado, because he's waited long enough. So for the next hour, we're going to be listening to this guy. And we're going to find out what it means to him and what he believes should and could happen for the RTD era. It is the one and only Jack Main, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to have you on board. I haven't watched Spider-Man yet, Marty, just to be clear on that. I will obviously speak about that in upcoming shows. All I'm just letting people know is what we're going to be talking about when Contact actually comes back. And that'll be further down the line, because obviously I want to wait until as many people have seen Spider-Man No Way Home before I make any comments on it. But as Ghostbusters Afterlife has already been out a good while now, it'll be stuff like that I'll be talking about, and obviously Cobra Kai when I finish Series 3, and then obviously at the end of the month, then we have Series 4. So I'll be talking about the first 3 seasons and what I thought of it, and what my hopes and expectations are for Series 4. So Jack, obviously we got the great news that RTD was returning, the GOAT was returning for a second coming. And it surprised a lot in the fandom. Let's be honest about it. Of course, we were speaking about it on this channel long before everybody else was. But I would just want to ask you, what was your initial reaction when you heard the news that RTD was in fact returning to Doctor Who?
Well, first of all, I thought someone's trolling, and then when I realised, oh no, it's actually real, I was jumping about. Honestly, like, I was over the moon.
Can you tell people why, for anybody that doesn't understand what this announcement means to certain fans out there, can you tell people why you're so excited to hear that RTD is returning back to Doctor Who? What is the appeal, in your opinion, that RTD has that maybe the current showrunner hasn't got?
Well, I think the big cause for excitement is, for my generation, RTD was the one that introduced the show to us, and for his era, the show was at the height of its popularity. I know there are probably a lot of Moffat fans in the chat, but those of you who know me will know I haven't been the biggest fan of his era. And I always thought that it was RTD's show, really, because him and Julie brought it back. And when he left, I think partly the part of it left with him, if that makes sense. With Moffat, it was a very different show. So Russell T coming back is just, well, it's amazing, really, because I think people had always teased about it, like joked about it, and it's like, yeah, don't mock us, but no, this is real. I think something that he has that Chibnall doesn't is actual writing ability. That's the obvious one, and I just think he understands certain things of the show that his predecessors don't, and I think one of his biggest things is he understands the Daleks. Which, they were my favourite monster. They were the monster that got me into Doctor Who, because my very first episode was Dalek. So Russell T seemed to be the only showrunner that actually handled them properly. And as a kid, them appearing every year was exciting because time was much slower back then. But as you get older, you begin to think that every year is perhaps a little bit too much. But I think Russell T handled every Dalek story in his era very, very great. It always made it feel like you were happy to see them back.
Yeah.
But after that, it was kind of just like, oh, the Daleks again, really? So I'm hoping that one of the big things I'm hoping is maybe Russell can sit down with the greedy, money-grabbing gits at the Terry Nation estate and be like, listen, can we make it every other year? Or, just because, you're ruining your creation as well as anything by making them every year. The public are going to get sick of them. It's like, I don't think that's what Terry would have wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. And I actually did say, and I agree with you, I think the Daleks kind of, because they've been in Chibnall's era now quite a lot, I think it is time to kind of put them to rest. Can I ask you, though, do you want to see something totally different from RTD this time around? Or would you like to see some of the familiar characters and maybe some of the familiar villains to return, but obviously put a new twist on it, if you know what I mean? Like add to maybe some of the villains that he introduced into his first era, and then maybe, add a bit more to their development. Would you like to see that, or do you want to see something completely new?
A bit of both, actually. I would love to see. One thing I want to see again is companions with actual families and dynamics, so we get to see their background, where they come from. So you'd have like a Jackie Tyler character, maybe
Yeah,
someone who'd stay at home, and I don't mean like full soap opera, maybe, although personally I never minded that. Just I would love to see that, because Russell T understands people, he understands characters, and I'd
yeah,
love to see that, not where the companion is the center of time and space and holy shit. What I'd
yeah,
like to see is just a human person who has a life, who has a background, and then we get introduced to this. The Doctor takes her or him away, and changes their life for the better. And I think
yeah,
that's what was always so appealing about Eccleston, especially, is how he impacted Mickey the most, and how Mickey actually ended up impacting him.
yeah,
A lot of people forget that. Mickey kind of made the Doctor realize, I am dangerous. I do
yeah.
hurt people. So I want you to take this file of me and I want you to destroy it, because I don't want people following me.
Exactly,
And we
exactly.
learn what happens in one of your favorites, Love and Monsters, when someone does try and follow the Doctor. It gets people hurt.
I was actually going to bring that up, but you've brought it up now. Exactly that whole scene with Jackie Tyler and I forget the character's name again. I always
Uh,
forget his name.
Elton.
Elton, that's the one. Where they're standing outside, where she went into his pocket to give him some
Yeah,
money, and she finds the photograph, and then she talks about the people that are left behind and the impact uh, that her daughter traveling with the Doctor has on Jackie. And Jackie is, let's be honest, Jackie is doesn't have uh, loads of screen time. But what RTD is very good at is, in the short space of time that he has these characters on screen, as you said, the character development is there. You can,
yeah. It's like
by,
Jackie didn't need much screen
no,
time. We knew everything that we needed to know about her,
yeah,
and that stayed consistent from the start till the very end.
yeah, exactly.
Which is what Russell is so good at, is tying up loose ends. And I know the end of time is a bit of a, well, it's not the best, but in my opinion, the ending is perfect. The way he tied up everything at the end with all the characters, even having that cameo of Rose and Jackie before she met the Doctor, they're just absolutely perfect to me. And I would love to see moments like that. Something that I would love to see also is maybe a companion from the past. Maybe like a Victorian style thing. That might be interesting. So it's not just a repeat of 20th century.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't mind a companion like that. But RTD is progressive. And we seen that during his first era. But of course, his stories were fantastic, and his character development was.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It
I
was a
was just going to say, if he does do a
different level,
past,
but
if he
I
does
think
do,
he'll go for a modern. I think he'll go for a modern companion, Jack. To be
yeah,
quite honest, he'll probably go for a companion that reflects the current society. Do you know what I mean? But be
yeah,
done properly, maybe. I
at
don't
this,
know. I'd like him to go. I'd like him to go more traditional, like yourself. But I don't. I. It's going to be very hard. You won't know until he comes out and starts talking. I mean, apparently, I actually wanted to ask you this question though, because very interestingly enough, Stephen Moffat has piped up and said that he had a telephone conversation with RTD, and basically, Moffat said that the things that RTD told him were absolutely brilliant. Basically, um, Does that sway you in any way, Moffat coming out and saying stuff
Well,
like that, or do you kind of take it with a pinch of salt when it comes to Stephen Moffat?
I mean, you know me, I take anything with a pinch of salt when it comes to him. I mean, you have to understand that they are both woke progressives, so what they consider good might not be good to us.
Yeah,
You know, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to even think about Russell coming in because I just think it's too far away. There's so many questions that haven't been answered, and I don't. I've said this before. I can't handle disappointment for a third time. So I kind of just feel like if I get too excited and I get too up about it, and then it all just turns out it's just a continuation of what Chibnall was doing.
yeah.
I can't handle third disappointment. I will probably walk away from the show for good and just kind of go with, classic and whatever, so that this really is an all or nothing with me.
Yeah,
This is what I'm
yeah.
saying. It all comes down to this, and I just hope that Russell understands the huge weight that he has to carry now and how important it is that he gets this right, that he can't afford to put his own ego before the show. He
Well,
has to
he's
put the
always,
show
hasn't he
first.
always done that? Because as you said yourself, and you rightly pointed out, that he understands Doctor Who. He understands the audience as well. And yes, he is a fanboy. And let's be honest, last year we were all talking on this channel, and I have to admit that I was sick and tired of fanboys um, taking over the show. But that was mostly down to because of what Mr. Chibnall was doing. But when I look back and I look back at the RTD era, and I have been watching, and I have to be honest, it was a great time. It was a great time for Doctor Who. I looking back now, I can't believe how lucky we actually were. We got we got four great. No, I won't say they were all great because they weren't, but it was the most consistent Doctor Who that we had gotten in that 4 series period. Um, I mean, season one to me, perfect season to start off with. Season two, he upped it a bit, right? Now, I like season three, but season three wasn't received as well as series one and two, right? But then he gave us series four, and to me, series four is perfect. I don't think there's one bad story in series four, and it has the 3 part. I call it a 3 part series finale. It starts off with Turn Left, and then you have the Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Mhm.
Um, that was just absolutely spectacular in my opinion. But I've been looking back, and I have to be honest, we don't realize how lucky we were. Um, and then Moffat came along, and his 4 series was great. Don't get me wrong, but after his 4 series, it went pear shaped, completely pear shaped. Um, he just the consistency was gone, and a lot of I want to ask you this actually because this is the thing that I've seen actually only recently, right? But it has been spoken about, but not as much. We've kind of ignored it, and we've been kind of obviously focusing on all the other stuff. But do you think that after RTD's original run, Doctor Who might have got a bit of fatigue and should have been put on hiatus instead of going with Stephen Moffat? Because if you look at it, Jack, right, we had Stephen Moffat who was inconsistent, and then he went from Stephen Moffat to Chris Chibnall, who tried to do something different. Let's be fair, with Series 11, didn't work. He went back to the more familiar, and he gave us more of that timeless child nonsense. And then we got the series now. Do you think there was a bit of fatigue with Doctor Who back then?
I'm going to give you a full insight to my generation and the friends that I've spoken to over the years, and they all tell me the same thing. It should have finished after Matt Smith. They said, Tennant was the peak, Matt Smith was enjoyable, and then they all just got bored during Capaldi. but it wasn't Capaldi's fault. No, everyone knows that he's one of the best actors to ever be cast in it, and I agree. I think it should have gone on a hiatus. Just as I don't know for how long, but possibly after the anniversary. I think with RTD. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I think it was at its height, and then when Moffat changed it, some people decided, oh no, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And then some other people just naturally got sick of the inconsistent writing. I remember Series 7 was particularly bad.
Yeah, we're on that now, I think, actually, at the moment with the new Who watch-alongs, and I can tell you,
yeah,
it is. It's like Matt
so
Smith's
bad.
a great doctor, Jack, but some of the scripts are just awful. And I mean,
always remember,
like, are they as bad as what we've been getting now? No. Even Stephen Moffat's worst are better than Chris Chibnall's best. But even then I had me problems with Stephen Moffat. See, I think personally, right, that they didn't know what to do with the show because RTD was such a success. And naturally, Stephen Moffat probably was the natural successor, but there has been rumours that they wanted other people instead, couldn't get them and settled for Stephen Moffat.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case or not. But I think it's the same with Moffat. After Moffat left, I don't think there was anybody else out there that was willing to take on this show. And the only one that was available was Chris Chibnall. And that's the only reason why they went to him and he took the job, was because there was nobody else out there. Nobody wanted to take this on at the time.
Can I just say, if that's the case, why couldn't you just put it on hiatus? It became apparent to me that when Stephen Moffat took over the show, the BBC just stopped caring. That became apparent to me. If I were the BBC and I cared about Doctor Who, I'd have sacked Moffat after Series 7. I'd have said, listen, mate, you're clearly running on fumes and you can't do this anymore. The ratings have gone down. A lot of people seem to ignore how much they went down before Chibnall, which annoys me. And I always get tired when people say, like, well, we'll take Moffat over this. It's like, so you'll take mediocre, will you?
Yeah. Like, I've even admitted that the ratings under Moffat weren't great. But the decline, we have to be honest here, though. If you compare the decline under Moffat to the decline under Chibnall, there is no competition. Chibnall still trumps him, but you are right.
Absolutely.
You are absolutely 100% right. Nobody is denying that under Stephen Moffat. But I do agree with you. Some fans do forget that. But
I just don't consider. Sorry, I just don't consider what Chibnall has done to even be worthy of this argument, because it's not Doctor Who.
Yeah.
If we're talking purely Doctor Who, I think Moffat had the weakest era in the show's history, surpassing even JNT's, in my opinion. It was full of inconsistencies. The monsters would often be used for a 5-second, oh, look how cool this is. And then when you actually sit down and think about it, you realise that's stupid. And talking about Series 7, I'll never forget Nightmare in Silver. I was so happy the Sidemen were coming back. I was like, finally, we get a proper Sideman story. And when it was finished, I was sat there like, what the hell was that? And why did the Sidemen look like Iron Man?
Do you know that, though? A lot of people actually like that story, but I'm with you on it. I don't like that story personally.
I mean, you can like whatever you like. It's fine, but personally, it's at least better than Closing Time. But
still,
that's not really an accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's better than that dribble. But look, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, because to you don't recognize Chris Chibnall's era as actually Doctor Who. But if you were to rate Moffat's, I see what you're doing there, and I actually totally get it. But unfortunately, Chris Chibnall's era Doctor Who is canon, whether we like it or not. Right? So that leads me to the next question. If Chris Chibnall doesn't fix this timeless children nonsense, and we still got a few more episodes, right, specials to go. Right, if he doesn't fix this, right, do you think? What do you think is the best approach for RTD? To simply ignore it, or to acknowledge it, but to kind of to retcon it within a line like they did with Ghostbusters Afterlife? Would you like to see something, or would you like him to totally just ignore it completely and just do his own thing? Which option would you go for?
For me personally, as a fan, I just want him to start fresh in a kind of like how he did with Eccleston. We didn't get an exposition dump of the whole of Classic Who. It kind of just started like, this is Doctor Who, I'm the Doctor. The companion asks, "You're an alien?" And he says,
Yeah.
"Yes." And he says, "I'm a Time Lord. You know, I'm not the timeless child. I'm not some bloody space Jesus creature. I'm a Time Lord. I have two hearts. If I die, I don't die. I regenerate." Bring the mystery back to the character. The companion could say down the line, "What are the Time Lords?" And the Doctor's just like, "Change the subject. Just do it. Build it."
Yeah, like
gradually.
what any time Rose would bring up about the Doctor's people, he'd always
He'd
avoid
always
the
ignore
question.
it.
Yeah,
And that was because of the Time War, and I love that. It brought so much mystery to the character. I was really pissed off when Moffat retconned it, to be honest. But I understand people wanted to see the Time Lords back. I just think there was a better way of doing it than retconning the whole 9th and 10th Doctor. It felt like a big fuck you to RTD, which really annoyed me. Because it's like the whole arc of my two favourite Doctors was centred around that. And even McGann, his audio adventures in the Time War looked really fun, sort of thing. But yeah, I kind of just want RTD to not sort of directly come out and be like, "Oh, the Timeless Child, it was all a load of rubbish," but maybe just hint at it with a couple of one-liners.
Yeah.
I know this would never happen, but he could probably do something like, "I was a woman that one time, but we don't talk about that." Because that would be on PC, so we're never going to get that. But if I was showrunner, that's what I'd do. I'd do it as a joke. I'd say and
or you could get him to pick up an article of the executive producer of the Bond movies that turned around and says that a female shouldn't play Bond, and have the Doctor hold that and then use that as a little reference, as if to say, well, it's the same with the Doctor. You get me?
I can just picture the companions like, "So if you change your body, Doctor, can you change gender?" And he's like, "I don't know, why would I want to do that?"
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to get away with that, because then you'd have the trans community coming after you.
Exactly.
This is why I just think Russell needs to shut up and just get on with whatever he's envisioning for the show. And in terms of me, I think if we're all going to be, uptight enough to be like, "Oh, what Chris Chibnall has done has ruined everything," Chris Chibnall's an idiot. It's like, are you going to let an idiot spoil the entire show for you? If Russell T Davies carries on the Timeless Child with like series arcs and plots, that's different.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
If he's just willing to get on with it, and he makes references to like the Deadly Assassin and Time Lord mythology, from Classic Who and stuff like that, then that would be a huge sign that it's being ignored. Whereas if you get references to the Timeless Child, you'll know that they're carrying on with it. Yeah, that's just what I think. I think he should make references to the Time Lords like he did in his previous era, and just keep it at that, really. I'm sure some fan fiction will come along later that fills in the gaps, like a comic or something, that disproves the Timeless Child.
Yeah, you probably see that'll be the thing about it. For me personally, I don't want him to waste his time.
No.
Trying to sort this. I want him, whatever vision he has for Doctor Who, I want him to realize it, because I mean, look, he even has said during his first era, there was a lot of things in interviews since he left the show. He's actually said there's a lot of things that he wanted to do that he couldn't, because he hadn't got the resources. Now he's going to have all the resources because obviously Sony and Bad Wolf now are. I think Sony's bought a stake. I don't think they've totally taken over, or they have. So he's got Sony money backing him. So to me, he's going to be unleashed. He's not going to be restrained.
Yeah, the one thing I hope he doesn't do though is go like full MCU kind of thing. Just
I don't
remember
know.
that
I've got a funny feeling that's where he's going to go with this,
I
Jack.
don't want him to, because Doctor Who isn't like that, kind of over the top ridiculous sci-fi. It's more it's funny because I heard something years ago about how people who don't really like sci-fi still like Doctor Who because it has a charm and elegance about it that other sci-fi doesn't have. And I don't want it to lose that. I'm all for impressive visuals and stuff like that, but I hope that they still keep things traditional, like Daleks have operators, Cybermen are guys in suits. Just keep the spirit of Doctor Who there.
I think they will. I think they'll just use the technology that they haven't been able to use in the past. And when I mean expand the universe, and that's what I think he's going to do. I mean, like with the spin-offs and stuff like that. I think you'll have people working on spin-offs. I think the main show, Doctor Who, will stay under him anyway. Will be Doctor Who.
Yeah, but as you said, Noel, give it 2 seasons. Don't start working on the spin-offs before you even know if you've got a success yet.
Exactly. And that brings me to the other point. We've been obviously seeing from a lot of fans out there. We get the usual, TV habits have changed and all of this. And, Doctor Who is still in the top 10 or the top 30. So it's performing okay considering. But, the point that I make is that the new rating system actually takes that all into account. So my question would be to everybody out there that denies that Doctor Who, this era in particular, has been a failure, is, well, then where's the audience? Where's the public? Because the numbers aren't showing this success that you guys see. Now, if you've got Doctor Who written well, proper character development, and stories that we can actually get behind, then to me, there is no reason why Doctor Who, in this current climate of TV, could get 8 to 10 million people watching in the overnights. Now, that would be a success. RTD is never going to hit the heights that he hit first time round with his first era because the TV landscape has changed. Nobody will deny that. But as I said, this rating system takes everything into account.
Yeah,
I do give a few. Sorry, Jack, just for a second. I give a few examples of a few shows, right, that can actually do this, like Line of Duty, Peaky Blinders, and the response I get from fans on the other side is, well, they're completely different shows, but you're missing the point. The reason why I use Line of Duty as the example, or Peaky Blinders, or Killing Eve, or The Bodyguard, right? Why do I use that? Because every single one of those shows have compelling writing, compelling characters, right? Some shows even have cliffhangers, right? And keep the audience wanting more. Now that proves that if you write something decent, the audience will watch on the night, right? The audience will watch on the night. So again, I ask the question to all those fans out there that are saying that this is a rating success. Well, then show me your audience, because the audience has dropped off. Or are you telling me that the audience that the show has had over the last few years is the audience of Doctor Who worldwide? In all the different countries where the ratings are down, you're telling me that that's the audience of Doctor Who? No. There was way more. Look at the 50th anniversary period, right? Look how all of that RTDs first run, and you'll see, right, what audience Doctor Who actually had. There is no excuse. But go ahead anyway, Jack, you were going to say something. Oh, by the way, folks, we got a couple of trolls in the chat there, so you know what to do, mods. Just get them sorted. But go ahead, Jack. You're going to say something. there, make a
I
point.
was just going to say that I think a lot of people, the whole idea that TV habits have changed, I think they've changed because TV's so crap. To
Yeah,
be honest, I think there is nothing that will stop someone from turning on the telly and watching a show. And you said the new rating system takes it into account. It doesn't matter whether you're streaming or you're watching it on the BBC. You know,
exactly.
the audience has gone. It's like if there was 8 million people streaming it, that would still be a success, you know. It's like just because they're not watching it the traditional way, they're not watching it full stop. So
Yeah,
like, that there's no that whole argument falls apart. People aren't interested anymore for the simple fact that it's crap, you know. And I spoken there's a girl in my class I was chatting to, and she said she was a hardcore RTD era fan. I don't think she understood that RTD was the writer. I think she just liked Eccleston, Tennant, you know. And I was chatting to her about it, and I said, would you ever consider watching it again? And she was like, if they got it like it was back in the day. I was just like, yeah, like back in the 2000s. She was like, yeah. And she says, I still stream it with my sister sometimes. So people go back and they watch RTD's era, you know,
yeah,
which proves that, you know, maybe if RTD can sort of make himself known that he's coming back and, you know, give us that style, maybe something similar to how it was back then, the formula, that might make people like, oh, yeah, this reminds me of how it was. I love this. You know, not being too samey, obviously, but like trying new things, but just, I don't know, it's so difficult to explain, really. Like, you know, it's proof that people still appreciate that era, you know, because they're willing to go back and watch it, just ignoring what it's been bad all these years. So I don't think the show is as dead as some people make it out to be. I just think that this, as it is now, it's not pulling in anything new, and it's just slowly losing everything that was old, if that makes
yeah,
sense. You know,
yeah.
so I just think that there could be a light at the end of the tunnel for this show. I just don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be quite a while before you get a lot of those hardcores back, because they're just quite fed up with all this, and I don't blame them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he does. Let's be honest here. You know, while we're praising the fact that RTD is coming back, we're under no illusion that he really does have an uphill struggle and a battle on his hands even before he puts pen to paper. Um, because let's be honest, the last 5 years in this fandom, it's been a complete and utter war zone. There are different factions within the fandom, and you know, each have their opinions which clash with each other, and we've seen all of the nasty stuff that's going on in the fandom. Now, I get accused of all sorts in this fandom, but all I have ever done is defend myself. But if you want to defend all the racism and defend all the bigotry and the rape shaming of me wife and stuff like that, if you want to defend all of that, go ahead. I say to these fans, but all I've ever done is defend myself. But yeah, they've managed to spin it that I'm toxic and I'm this, that, and the other. And that's their tactic. He's gonna really have an uphill struggle to try get this fandom to all go in the one direction. But for me, Jack, you know, certain key decisions for me will hold the key for me when it comes to the casting of the Doctor, the companion, and then obviously to kind of see what he has planned for the upcoming his upcoming era. It is an exciting time, but at the same time, you know, we have to be cautiously optimistic because we have had 5 years of hell. I mean, if he comes back, and as you said earlier, if there's even any hint that he's adding on to this timeless children nonsense, I think a lot of fans, even though it is RTD, will check out.
Yeah, and that's my final point, really. It's like, is the RTD today going to be the same as the one we had back in 2005, or is he going to be entirely politically motivated? You know, I would hope not. And from the interview that you had with that fella, I forgot his name, but he was talking about RTD and what he knows from the inside. That he's a really talented writer now. He's far more talented than he was back then.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting to see, how amazing he is now. I haven't seen It's a Sin. It's just not my kind of show.
Yeah.
Too depressing for me. But from the reviews I've heard of it, it sounds really good. And there's even that awesome little Resurrection of the Daleks scene in it, where they're filming that. You know, the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's what I mean. Russell is a fan, and all you need to do is watch the Sarah Jane Adventures. Nicholas Courtney came back for it. You know, that a fan who wasn't interested wouldn't have done that. Wouldn't have gone to all the trouble to get Nicholas Courtney back. Give
I
Sarah
know.
Jane her own show. You know, Russell T Davies has a love for the show. My only thing is, I hope that his love for the show goes beyond his love to impress a bunch of champagne socialists. That's my one thing. It's like, what do you love more, Doctor Who or showing that you're politically
No,
correct?
but you see, that's the thing. That's the thing. If you've heard how he's been talking about
Yeah,
Doctor Who,
I've heard Lee's told me all this.
interviews and
Oh,
all, he still refers to the Doctor as a male character, even as close as I think it was 2018, where he did. I found a clip. It was on YouTube from the BBC's Writers' Room, I think it was called, and he's interviewed and he speaks about Doctor Who, and he still classed and Jodie Whittaker obviously was the Doctor, and he's still in that. Oh, it was 2019, Marty. Thank you. And in the interview, he still even classes the Doctor as a male character. Listen, I think there's reasons why he's back, but I think the main reason that he is back is that he's the only one that understands this show. I don't. Maybe there is another showrunner out there or executive producer that does, but they went with RTD, or RTD took the show from them and basically said, I'm doing it my way. But if you look back at the first four years and then his specials, even though I think some of his specials were weak, but it's saying that you could tell that this guy has love for Doctor Who. There's no shadow of a doubt that this guy loves Doctor Who. I mean, the amount of classic actors that he reintroduced into New Who under different character names or whatever was, I think he did it more than even Moffat did. And Chibnall tried to do it. Jordan, his era just didn't quite work out as well. But this man has love. You can just see the way he writes Doctor Who compared to the other two. And I don't think that is his loyalty towards Doctor Who is in question. It's whether or not, as you said, whether he decides to write Doctor Who the way it was written by him the first time and improve on it, or whether he's going to pander, because he did make some outrageous comments that has soured a few people in the fandom, and he has to be careful that he doesn't fall into the same trap that Chris Chibnall did. I mean, he has to. It has to be Doctor Who first. If it's not Doctor Who first, then we're in for another era of disappointment, in my opinion.
I hate to say it, but I think he might do both, or try and do both. I think he'll want to fix the canon. He'll want to give us good stories, good Dalek stories, good Cybermen, Sontaran, and all that. But I think those one-liners and those characters and those messages, they will be in there without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
Without a doubt. And I'm sorry, but it's Bolstrek's fault and it's all you guys' fault. But now that I'm red pilled, shall we say, I can't watch anything without noticing this stuff. If I was an innocent little kid, I wouldn't think anything of it. But now, every time there's a one-liner or some dumb celebrity says something stupid, it's like, yeah, I can see it, I can hear it. So it's probably going to hinder my enjoyment of it. Sadly, I don't think we'll ever have a 2005 Who ever again. And that is and always will be my Doctor Who, as much as I love classic Who. So it's a really difficult time for me, Noel. I wish I could give you nothing but enthusiasm for Russell, but I'm afraid I can't until I see it. Because, as I've said, I can't handle disappointment again.
Yeah, you know what, Jack? You're like a lot of fans right now, and you echo a lot of fans out there until they actually see something on screen. People are going to wait fans are going to wait that long. Even I reckon the British audience and audiences worldwide will be cautious as well, and they'll see what he produces. The one thing that I say that will go in his favor if he gets it right, like he did the last time, his first ever Doctor Who trailer is probably considered the best Doctor. Well, Chris from Cultivated Media, or Balstrek from Cultivated Media, thinks it's up there. I think he said it was the best trailer. But that trailer with Christopher Eccleston and Rose Tyler, when the show first came back, I think that's when that hooked a lot of the British public and the fans. Even the ones that were skeptical that he could get this done and get it done right, because even back then there was a bit of a backlash for RTD, and again, nobody denies that, but it's not as bad as the backlash that we had for this era, and that's the point that I've always made. But I think the trailer will be very important again this time round. I think he's casting of the Doctor and Companion are very important, and I think they will sway some fans, but not all. But will it be till when the first episode actually drops for you, Jack, or would any of those other things that I just brought up sway you even further to get a little bit more excited?
I think for me, it will come down to the casting and the reveal trailer. And I think that will get me excited. Is the cast is whatever the casting will make or break it for me. And I hate to say this, but if I see a person of color who's obviously there just to tick a box, or a woman who's obviously there just to tick a box, I will be like, no, sorry. I might try it out, try Russell's writing, and see how it goes. I might try 1 or 2 episodes, but for me, it all comes down to the casting and the initial trailer, so we get a look at what it could look like. And trailers can be deceiving, but if anything, it will be better than a Chibnall trailer. So,
well, let's be honest. The Chibnall trailers or the next week on Doctor Who trailers that he's done have been quite misleading in the Chibnall era, I have to say. Sometimes the trailer does be even better than the whole bloody series itself. It's an absolute joke, but you are right. Trailers can be, but I don't think, again, RTD will use those tricks. I think if he's going to do something, it'll be blaringly obvious.
Do you remember at the end of a Christmas special, you'd get a trailer for the upcoming series in the RTD era?
Yeah.
And do you remember how just amazingly put together it was?
I know.
If we get something like that, I'll be begging you to bring me on a stream, because I'll be that excited. I'll be jumping around the place.
Yeah.
Like, if we get something like that, if we get something where it's like, oh, my life was so oppressed, I had to deal with this, this, and that, but then a woman came out of nowhere and showed me that I can be who I want to be, I'm going to just be like, stuff this.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be so bloody obvious if they go with something like that.
Do you know what? First of all, right, I think he did it the first time round as well. Logo first, logo reveal first, right? then that sets the tone kind of, because then
Yeah.
people will start talking and debating the logo, which is good. So that get the hype up, right? Now, apparently, it's been reported, as we all know, that RTD now is obviously working right now, and apparently, it's also being rumored by others on Twitter accounts now. You know yourself, unless it's someone I kind of know who's reliable, I'm not going to say whether if it's true or not. But obviously, take this with a pinch of salt. But the rumor is obviously that the TARDIS is actually being built right now, which would make sense, guys, because if you think about it, if he's going to be starting next year, you would have to have all of that obviously in place. But yeah, logo reveal, and I think the interior of the TARDIS as well is going to be very important, because I'm going to say this. This is going to shock you all, but I hated RTD's. I hated the TARDIS interior during RTD's era. Have to say, I think we got better TARDIS interiors actually in the Moffat era. I'm sorry, but I didn't like that coral fucking
Can I give you a blowback
Go
to
on.
that statement? I love it, but I can't deny Matt Smith's steampunk TARDIS was the best. Like the series 5 and 6 TARDIS was incredible. But I do love Russell's. I think Russell's was the most alien TARDIS that we saw, and it was almost organic and alive, which I really loved about it. I love that it was stripped down. Sort of thing. It had a very edgy kind of look to it, which I quite liked. I just felt that the Moffat, especially Capaldi's TARDIS, was just bland and boring. It was too clean for me. I like the more kind of ruggedy spaceship. Looks like, it might not get you where you want to go. It had a creepiness and a kind of,
Right.
it could break down at any minute kind of look to it. But also it looks so alien, which I love as well. But hey, as you said, it's personal preference, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it. That's it. I mean, look. I agree with you. Matt's TARDIS, definitely. But I never
It,
and
look,
I
it
did
looked like
like.
you could live in it. Honestly, I always wanted to see the bedrooms because you got the upper floor where Matt's
Yeah,
saying to Amy and Rory, down the left, on the right, the master bedroom and all that. I'm just like, come on, let us see more than the console room.
yeah, yeah. I would have loved to see the bunk beds and the swimming pool in the
Mm.
library and stuff like that. But what you call it? Yeah, another thing that I didn't like about Russell T Davis's era was actually the logo. I didn't like the logo either.
I'll admit it hasn't aged well today, but it's such an iconic logo for me. I was really miffed when I found out that it wasn't on the Steelbook Blu-rays, and
Yeah,
instead it was the Chibnall logo. I'm like, what the hell are you putting that on RTD's era for?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
No, I'll
it's
agree
iconic
with
to
you
me.
that it was iconic, because obviously it was the first logo of the new Who era, so I understand it 100%, right? But that still doesn't sway me. I think it was absolutely awful, to be quite honest. I'm being honest as well. I didn't like Matt Smith's one either. I didn't like the one
No,
that
no, that's
did
the worst.
The big DW. I didn't
Yeah,
like that.
Doctor DW Who. I
Yeah,
hate
I
it.
didn't like that, man.
Just as I
So
didn't like that the Time Vortex were clouds. Just
yeah,
wouldn't
so
make any
that's
sense.
the thing. That's the thing. Logos haven't been really their strong points. Let's be honest. So let's hope they can get it right this time
I
round.
know.
A decent logo. Look at. Do you know what my ideal logo would be? A throwback to the classic era
The
logos,
Pertwee McGann one.
but updated, man. You can do it. It's not. Look, I know Russell will be and his team will be thinking about
Here's an
all
idea.
the
Do the Pertwee McGann logo, but make it like fiery and glowing orange with some Time Lord symbols in it,
Could do that, yeah.
on like a space background or something. Or that might be too flash. I don't know.
Now, going to ask you a question to get some balance. Obviously, there's a lot of things that you did like about the RTD era. But are there things that you hope he doesn't repeat, mistakes that you believe that he made, that you hope he doesn't repeat when he returns this time round?
Please don't bring in any cringeworthy 19-year-old romantic women that just want to shag the Doctor.
So no love interest.
No, because when I realised that William Hartnell's Doctor was a grandfather, my 8-year-old eyebrows were raised. Like, so what's he doing dating a 19-year-old then? It's like, call the police.
You're very blunt about it, but I like that. I like that. Is that another thing for me would be as well. Now listen, look, while I do love of monsters and stuff like that, right? I think the silly monster trope, right?
Yeah, don't do that again.
I don't think that needs to be
The
done
thing
now.
is, the Slitheen themselves could be good if they just didn't have those bellies. Redesign them, make them more lizard-like and scaly, and much more ferocious, and you've got yourself a very good monster there.
Yeah.
Actually, when you asked about would I like to see any monsters back, I know you're going to hate me for this, but I kind of want the Slitheen back, but maybe slightly different because we know there are different types. As I said, less of a belly, much more ferocious looking. They could have scales and spikes coming out their back.
Actually, I have seen, Jack. It's actually interesting that you say that because I have seen some concept art by fans out there, and someone actually kind of designed one exactly the way you've described it. And I have to be honest, you know, it was pared back but had all the features that you were talking about. By God, that thing scared the crap out of me. It actually
That's
looked
another
like,
thing. Because we're living in a PC time now, everyone's like, oh, the poor children, we mustn't frighten them. The whole point, like classic Doctor Who, it used to scare kids. You know, don't be afraid to make monsters that are actually scary. For example, like in the Moffat era, you had the Fisher King.
yeah,
Freaking fantastic design, only
yeah,
gets 2 minutes of screen time.
yeah.
What? Oh, you know,
Yeah.
you can design awesome monsters. Don't be afraid to have them, you know, it
It
just
doesn't matter
annoys
if
me.
Doctor Who gets complaints. If Doctor Who's getting
Oh,
complaints, it's doing its bloody job.
doing the
The day
right
that
thing.
isn't it,
You know,
Jack? Like the
yeah,
day that Doctor Who doesn't get complaints
is
about
when you
how
fail.
scary it is, that's when you fail. It's supposed to scare that's the whole thing. It happened during the classic era, right? You had your woman always complaining and people
You know what
sending in
monsters?
letters
Mary
complaining about
Whitehouse.
Doctor Who. It's the same with under our RTD. There was a few complaints put in during his era, and the same with Stephen Moffat. In fairness, but under Chibnall, none of that has happened. The only complaints that has been is obviously his shambolic cancer scene that
No,
with Graham
can I just
O'Brien
say that this
and
might
other
not
people
be
like that.
this might not be popular, but two monsters that scared me from the classic era as a kid. Those of you who subscribe to my YouTube channel and you've watched my Earthshock action figure reviews, I go into detail about this. But do you know the two androids from Earthshock?
Yeah,
They gave me nightmares because they're just completely black. There's nothing. They're just these shiny black people walking around dark tunnels, which makes it so much worse. And then when they kill people, they make that horrible scream, and then there's just nothing but mush left.
yeah.
I'd like, that's scary to
Do you
me
know
as
what
a
scared
kid.
me as well? The episode Midnight.
Yeah, that we never see what the monster is.
Yeah, but I think that's why he's so. That's why it's so good, and
That's
that's why it
Russell's
was
best
so good.
episode, in my opinion. That's Russell's best written episode.
And it's David Tennant's best
Best
acted, in my
performance.
opinion, as well. Because I was very critical of Tennant's Doctor. I preferred Tennant's Doctor when he was serious, because that's when I think we got the best of David Tennant. But when he was
Yeah.
the Jack the Lad, the jokey Doctor, I that didn't really appeal to me. But that story, Midnight, I have to tell you, the first time I watched that, I got goosebumps and all watching it.
I
And
still
you're right,
do.
we don't see the monster in that. We don't see what the entity is or whatever.
I know
But
someone did say to me, "Oh, it's because the budget's so shite they couldn't even have one." It's like, yeah, so you have no budget, and he made a room which is about as big as the room I'm in now. You know, not very big at all, and he managed to make a story out of that. Just a group of
exactly.
people sat in a room, scary bloody music by Murray Gold, and tremendous acting, and it's one of the best episodes in the show.
Yeah,
That should
very
tell you a lot.
atmospheric as well. Very atmospheric, and then at the same time, you have to tapping on the metal, and then it keeps repeating, and then obviously it gets inside and it takes over sky, and then you have the whole repeating at the same time. It was very cleverly written. That's what I mean. You're right, Jack.
That's what I want.
You don't even need a huge budget.
No.
RTD could literally get 2 pieces of stick, right?
And
And
make a
tell a
story with
story
them.
for them, and he could make it interesting and scary, man. That's a good writer, a good showrunner. That's what they do. They use the tools that are available to them, and they use all their skill and all their professionalism and all their talent to produce the best thing that they can produce.
And I tell you, the bit that scares me is when Tennant's possessed and he's staring right at the camera, sweating, dripping from his face, and you can see the fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
Like he's staring, and as he's repeating, "Oh man, you've made me want to go watch it now." Like literally, that's if you were to say to me, "What do you want to see in Russell's new era?" I want to see that. I want to see.
I would love a whole season of kind of like midnight style Doctor Who under RTD. Something like that. You don't have to have these big flashy monsters either. You can introduce them in later series.
Later. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right now, you could have a whole overarching storyline, right? And kind of have it the same intensity, the same atmosphere,
you know what I would
as,
like?
as a midnight.
I'd like a return to Pertwee's kind of some more earthbound ones to start off with. Like I think I discussed this with you on a stream before, my idea for how the show should come back. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but the thing about it is, Jack, we've had an earthbound era under Chris Chibnall. I think fans just want to see space and proper sci-fi now. I mean, maybe again later on,
maybe
run, but I think right now, I think there's a cry out. Seriously, I think there's a cry out for more kind of space adventure. Because look what we have actually gotten. If you break down the Chris Chibnall era and look at the amount of time that he actually spent in space, it's not actually that long. Most of it has either been on Earth or obviously different time periods of Earth, or has been on an alien planet somewhere, which hasn't been very good, that looks Earth-like, So I think people just want the space, the TARDIS in space, and having adventures in space, maybe on space stations like they used to do in the classic era, where the Doctor has to figure out what's going on.
The trouble
and all this.
is I don't want there to be too much of that, because a crappy space station gets boring after a while.
I do agree, and I don't think he should repeat that trope.
I think if you've got the budget, film on a beach and turn that beach into a purple sky, green ocean, mystical planet with different things on there and everything, and do something like that. I do agree with you. You could maybe get some really beautiful planets for a change that aren't just a background.
That's it. Because it's. I mean, the reason why so many people are going back to the RTD era is because it was a more simpler era. If you compare it to even Moffat's got too complicated. He tried to be too clever, whereas RTD knew what his ability was, and he used it and sometimes it was spectacular. And again, what kind of annoys me is that Moffat did produce the best. I think Moffat produced the best Doctor Who under RTD, to be quite honest. And I know he gave us Heaven Sent out of his era, which to me is just a beautiful episode of a Doctor who's recently lost a companion. Yes, it was ruined in the next episode, but that episode as a single episode is one of the single greatest stories and episodes that I've ever watched of Doctor Who. It's up there with Genesis and all of those other great stories that we mentioned. But look, I trust RTD, but he has his writing. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying how great his writing is now, and he's recently won awards, so he's obviously on a high, right? But what I do want to see is I want to see a more mature Doctor Who under RTD. You don't have to necessarily exclude the kids, right? You don't need to exclude the kids. I mean, look at the R-rated movies that kids actually watch, like Deadpool and all of that, and people are worried about, exposing kids to violence and,
No, but the
and
thing is, kids aren't idiots. They know what good television and bad television is.
exactly, that's the thing. So if I just want to see more mature writing from RTD, I don't want to see any of these silly monsters. I want to see new monsters, but also later on, then when he hopefully hits the ground running again, finds his feet again, has the show on a good foundation, right? Then start introducing some of the old favorites again, because we know he'll do them with respect. And then once this show, as I said, is solid, then you can think about then your spin-offs. But one spin-off I would like to see, and I'm just going to shout it out there because it was one that fans wanted a long time ago, and I think it should actually happen. There should be the Doctor's daughter, Jenny. I think you could write a show for the fans of the Jodie Whittaker era without hurting their feelings too much, and give them the Doctor's daughter, right?
I mean, I personally wouldn't watch it, but
I know you wouldn't, but that's the point, right? We got the main show, then you start doing spin-offs that appeal to other fans that mightn't necessarily watch Doctor Who anymore because it's gone down a certain route that they don't like, right? So you can have the Doctor's daughter, the Jenny Adventures, right? I know they have them on Big Finish, but do a TV series, right? Then you could then explore the Time War if you wanted with Paul McGann, right? And actually give him a bloody 8-part mini series at least, right? And then reintroduce Torchwood, right? And then obviously then you could have an Ace. Obviously, we had a Sarah Jane Adventure series, but you could reintroduce Ace to the fandom. She could have her own show, and then in that Ace show, then you can introduce some of the classic companions in that show. You know what I mean? And expand it that way. But this all hinges on one thing, and that hinges on the success of Doctor Who under RTD. None of this can happen unless RTD can get Doctor Who right. And this is why I believe, because it was recently said, I think by Sony, the Sony executive, that the reason why they went in with Bad Wolf was because they do believe that this production company has produced brilliant shows, but can be global, basically. And with Doctor Who in the forefront of that success, if they can make Doctor Who a success, Doctor Who will be leading this new revolution. Right now, they've already got other successful shows there, like His Dark Materials and other shows like that, right? But then you add Doctor Who to that, and a successful Doctor Who, this whole thing blows up. This whole thing goes global once again and becomes a global hit again. That's the thing. Doctor Who might be global right now, but is it a global hit right now? No. But it can be again. And the potential for the licensees is endless. This all goes to plan and all goes right. Doctor Who will lead Bad Wolf Productions and Sony into the future. And don't be surprised from this if the show's a success that we get a big ass movie in a few years' time. I'm just telling you, the potential here is endless. but it all hinges down to one man. And I'm confident that RTD can save Doctor Who again. I really do believe it. I do. Because he understands it. He has a passion for it. And I'm not saying that Moffat never had a passion. He did. He clearly had a passion for it. I just don't think he kind of knew what he wanted to do with the show himself, to be quite honest. I mean, to follow RTD is a big ask anyway. Let's be honest, right? It is. Because every showrunner is going to be judged by the RTD standard. And let's be honest, so far none of them have even come close to that standard. Can RTD break his own standards and create even higher standards? That's the question. And I believe he can. I think there's plenty to be optimistic about. But at the same time, like Jack, I'm going to say, I can understand why there's a bit of caution there. Because, we've been burned too many times now. They have to get it right this time, Jack, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Because if you don't get it right this time, I think it's I think if RTD can't rescue this with all the money that he's going to have behind him, I don't think. And I know money isn't everything. Obviously, his talent comes into play and who he brings in. But if he produces something great and it's still not being watched, that means to me personally that this show has actually reached fatigue and needs to be put on hiatus. What do you think, Jack, though?
If that happens, at least it could go out with its head held high. It could be like the 7th Doctor scenario, season 25 and 6 were very good.
Yeah.
It could at least go out like that. It's annoying because I think I might be skipping Chris Chibnall's specials, Noel, and there's a reason why I'm doing that, because I want to re-energize, I want to recharge so I can go into Russell's excited. I need a break from Doctor Who, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
I think a lot of fans do. So I know we all say, well, if you want to support it, you want to support it no matter what. Listen, I personally think it would be better if we all just say, stuff the rest of Chibnall. Let's all just take the well-deserved break and hop back on in the 60th and see where it goes from there. Really, it might just help build our excitement a bit more, because I think when a show goes on for too long, you got to think of people naturally getting bored of it. And I think because of Moffat and Chibnall, I think they've showed, I don't know how to say it, like the tackiness of Doctor Who. They've made a lot of people see it as it's more tacky and less good side. So people might think now, oh, well, that show can never be good, when it can be. But there just hasn't been enough of it to convince people of that. I've even been having thoughts like this, it's like, I mean, that I don't love Doctor Who as much as I used to. And it's really because we just haven't gotten anything amazing in such a long time. But, it's... maybe I just need to sit down and watch some really good stories again. But I think if all goes bad and it all goes wrong, I think Doctor Who will always live on amongst the fans. I think, I've said this before, I think the show's left far too big of an impact to disappear fully, if that makes sense. Like, it made such an impact on me, really. I mean, like I said, I only really loved it for about 6 years. I mean, that was, 10 years ago now? So the fact that I'm still considering myself a fan, that must have been one hell of a show to, leave an impact on me like that. And, I'm still watching the classic series. I'm still buying the action figures. So,
that's the thing.
You can check out my reviews on my channel.
You're absolutely right. That's the thing. No matter how it goes from here on in, there is no denying that this show had a cultural impact, especially within British society. When it first came around in the 60s, it had a huge impact. When it came back in 2005, again, it had a huge impact. I don't think anybody can take that away. I don't think there's been ever a show like Doctor Who that's managed to come back from a hiatus that long, but to be so to be so successful a second time round. I think there's very few. I'm not saying there isn't any other shows out there that haven't done it. What I'm saying is it's very rare. And for Doctor Who to do that twice is absolutely amazing. Nobody can take that away.
I think it's because of the formula of the show. The
Yeah,
formula, the design of the show itself will live forever because
yeah,
other shows might carry it on with a different name or different premise, but the formula of Doctor Who itself is immortal. It can't
yeah.
die. And it's become the benchmark for so many other things. So in a sense, I don't think it can ever die.
Yeah, yeah, fair point. Fair point. I mean, look, there's not many shows that can do that, but Doctor Who certainly has, and it's something as Doctor Who fans were proud of, to be honest. But it's about time that this show was respected again. It's about time that fans got the Doctor Who that they deserve, and that's not an arrogance or anything like that. It's because it's what we've been used to, and if you've been used to something, and a certain standard and a certain quality, you expect it to stay that way. I'm sorry, you either expect to stay that way or you want it to even improve even more. I've never came across. I'll rephrase. I never thought in my wildest dreams that there would be fans out there, and it doesn't matter what fandom it is, it happens in all fandoms, but fans that would be happy for mediocrity, right? Uh, you see it in all other fandoms, right? You see it in the Star Wars fandom, Star Trek fandom, Doctor Who fandom. These fans that claim to love a certain franchise, but yet want to change everything that made that franchise good. I never thought I'd see. I don't even call them fans. I don't even think fan is the right term for these people. I don't know what they are. They have most of them have agendas. I just call them. I don't know, fucking planks, because they all think the same.
A fan is someone who wants to, go home and write their own episode and send it in and hope that a writer sees it and wants to do something with it. A fan is someone that wants to be there to meet all the actors. A fan is someone who buys all the merchandise, not someone who's like, oh, this could be changed, that could be changed. It's like, you clearly don't like the show then if you just want to change all the fundamentals of it.
Exactly. It's time that again, that RTD remembers who this show. Listen, yes, he was great the first time round of introducing this show to new fans, and you know what? I'll be forever grateful for that as a long term fan, because I know for a show to survive, it can't just rely on long term fans. Every show needs to kind of introduce this to a wider audience, and a lot of them then do become fans, and then most just become casual viewers, but will watch week in, week out, but not necessarily be as fanatical as we would be about the show, but they'd watch. That's what he was good at doing in 2005. He needs to repeat that trick yet again, but I do believe if he gives us something better than Chris Chibnall, the ratings are going to improve straight away anyway. Once it's better than what Chris Chibnall has given us, the ratings, but I want them to give us something spectacular so the ratings can be the highest that they can be, and to show up these current era ratings, because that's when reality will hit most of these fans, guys, right? Right now, we have people out there still to this day, up until 2 days ago, recently defending these ratings again. Well, they're in for a rude awakening, because I do believe under RTD the ratings are automatically going to improve anyway. But if he gives us something spectacular, I believe that the ratings will do very, very well. Actually, I think we could be looking at around 10 million in overnights, like a Line of Duty gets, if the writing is up to scratch. And I think these fans are going to be in for a rude awakening, because they will
Yeah,
compare the ratings. RTDs there are going to be so much more spectacular than Chibnall's in any of the
and
three series.
just think, no, they won't be able to use their TV habits argument anymore.
No, then what argument will they come up with then? Then they'll finally come to the realization, or it'll go another way. They'll blame us fans and they'll say, well, it's all the racist, sexist, bigots' fault. Or they'll come to the realization that, okay, this wasn't as good as we thought. Maybe those fans were right, but we're not going to admit it because we can't. But they'll come to the realization. Lee says there's no way he'll get 10 million. I wouldn't underestimate the power of RTDs, Paul. Trust me. If the woman who fell to earth got 12 million in the overnights, right? Jodie Whittaker's first episode, trust me, RTD's first episode will easily surpass that, right? And as we know, the first episode is always the most watched. It'll be the second and the third episode, like it has been during the Chris Chibnall era, is where we'll see where it
I
pairs
wouldn't
off.
be surprised if these fans bite back a little bit if the ratings drop a little
Doesn't
after
matter.
the first episode, but it's perfectly natural for that to happen.
But it doesn't
Because,
matter, because what will
but
happen
I
is,
firmly believe that they won't fall any further than 9 million.
no, but it doesn't matter even if those fans don't watch, because in the on the lead up to what RTD is going to do, he's going to promote this heavily. So let those fans, because I guarantee there'll be new people out there that don't even know that they're going to be a fan of this show in the future, are probably sitting at home right now waiting for a new show to come along. They'll come across RTD's trailer or something like that, and then they'll watch and he'll introduce new people. So I don't care about those fans in this era, to be quite honest with you. That is not going to affect the overall ratings of RTD's era. I firmly believe that, because the way he does things and the way he promotes it, he'll already have new people waiting and willing to watch this show before it even kicks off. And you'll have fans that have left since the Stephen Moffat era, believe it or not, right? Left after RTD, they'll return, right? We're forgetting about those fans, right? We're forgetting about the fans then that also left when Peter Capaldi took over as the Doctor because they thought he was too old. The younger fans, they'll want to see RTD's era, right? So don't forget about these Jodie fans. They're not going to affect what RTD does or his ratings.
The only thing that I am worried about is I'm the kind of fan who likes to watch documentaries, know who the writers are, know the production team. The casual English viewer, and someone in the comments brought this up, is the casual viewer doesn't understand writers or, well, who the writer is and who the specific era is. They'll just look at the show as it was great back in the 2000s, it got worse during the 2010s, and it's a piece of crap now. So why would they jump back on? For people who don't pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes, I think a lot of people just won't come back, maybe.
Yeah, but I think RTD will, because the way he does things, the way it's promoted, the way he gets himself around, I think people will know and hear about Doctor Who. And I think it will be, framed that, well, this is the guy that gave you Doctor Who in the mid 2000s where you all thought it was great. So he's back again.
But I think they need to state that specifically. Whether it's in the trailer or whether it's in articles or news outlets, I think they need to state, hey, remember this back in the 2000s, the version of the show that was most popular, yeah, it's coming back. I think they need to get that word out to the public as much as possible.
Yeah, I think they will. I actually think they will. Even some of the articles are all saying he returns and all of this. So even the media is playing their part. Listen, as soon as he opens his mouth, which everybody is hoping is in a few weeks' time, when we might start hearing stuff. This is when the excitement will start. I guarantee you, wait and you see, it's he just has a knack. He has a way of words. His interviews are engaging. I'm telling you, even fans that have walked away from this show will be sitting up and taking notice. That's what I reckon. They'll sit up and they'll take notice. And I'm not worried about these Jodie Whittaker fans whatsoever. And some of them are decent, those Jodie Whittaker fans, and they will watch RTDs return. I'm talking mostly about the ones that we call J-bots. I don't care about them. I don't care about them. They can do whatever the hell they want.
And
At the end
can
of
I
the
just
day,
say,
I
like,
think
there's
we'll
going
be
to be
able to
those.
replace them, even if they throw their toys out of their prams. They're going to be replaced. So most of them said they were going to leave after she's gone anyway. So let them.
Good.
Let them anyway. Who gives a shit? RTD will introduce new fans to this show and will bring in a new audience. And he'll do it his way, and nobody will dictate. Not the audience, not BBC, nobody. He will do it his way. Nobody's dictating to him. End of story. That's it. We'll just say, look, in the next few weeks and months are going to be exciting anyway. And me and Jack could talk about RTD all night. But we're going to leave it there. But listen, and that comes up, any interviews or anything like that, we'll be straight on it. Because, as I said, very interesting times ahead. There is a reason to be a little bit excited. But, it only fully kicks into gear as soon as RTD obviously does his first ever proper interview. Because remember, once the announcement was made, he said a few words. He didn't actually do a big ass interview. So we still haven't got that big ass interview yet. And I'm pretty sure they've probably already got the interview in the can. It'll probably be uploaded to the YouTube channel. It'll be I reckon it'll be a video interview. None of this Radio Times bollocks, because that's RTD does things properly. And he'll give exclusives to Doctor Who magazine again, which has been struggling over the years. That's another thing. Actually, before we leave, Jack, that's another thing we must actually acknowledge, is the fact that the licensees now are going to benefit greatly under RTD's reign, like they did first time around. Because as you said yourself, look at all the Doctor Who merchandise back in the day. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere, even in Dublin. If you are passing a comic book shop, there was always Doctor Who merchandise in the window.
Yeah, I think it was an amazing thing, because it used to be so easy to get Doctor Who action figures. You could go into Sainsbury's or Tesco or anything and pick them up. They were in just your everyday toy aisles, and now they're exclusive to one shop and very difficult to track down. It'll be amazing if RTD can pick it up to that level of popularity. You won't have to worry about stock being low, or there not being enough distribution. You'll be able to walk into your local shop and pick one up, because all the kids will be fighting for them, and that's what I look forward to again. I look forward to when Doctor Who is the king of toy aisles.
Yeah, and when it's hard to find stuff that you actually want to buy, not because they haven't made enough of it, but because it's sold out. They're the times I remember, like even getting the Doctor Who magazine here was a bit of a chore under the RTD era, because I had to go into the city centre in Dublin to get it in the big bookshop called Eason's, and that's where they did the Doctor Who magazine. They have a whole magazine aisle where you get all the magazines from around the world, all the hobby magazines and all of that, fishing magazines, and of course Doctor Who. And I used to go in, and be very hard to get the Doctor Who magazine. Now you go in, feckin', there's loads of copies of Doctor, and there's not even bleeding selling, man. It's sad. It's sad. But this is the thing, the licensees will, the toy manufacturers, and the best thing about it is he will design villains and characters that will be profitable for the licensees. They will be able, as you said, figurines, sales and figurines since the Whittaker era have dropped off a bleeding cliff. This is the one that, see, there's an overall thing, it's the fandom. Fandom needs some sort of show to kind of look up to again. You've also got the licensees, they've got to start making money. Like, there's different facets to this. RTD has a huge job, but as I said, if one man can do it, it's the GOAT himself. And I look forward to see in the future what he brings us, because seriously, if it has, well, it is going to be better than the Chibnall era. But Jack, any last words on RTD and what you call it? Who would you like to see as your Doctor, by the way? I'll just end with that as well. Who would you like to see as your Doctor? And yeah, I think that's a good. And Ted is in here with me, so if you hear him in the background, sorry about that. Go ahead.
To be honest, I have no idea. I just want it to be someone who's good, who's suited to the role, and who can bring that eccentricness and that traditional English gentleman back to the role. So, he's not too silly or all over the place. They can have that as well, but I would like to see a more traditional Doctor with that, but with that modern appeal.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's the kind of Doctor I want to see, so we don't trick fangirls into thinking that he's a time-traveling sex model. We show the Doctor who he's meant to be, and I'm not good with actors. I'm sure there's loads out there. The chat will probably mention a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's more what I want from the character. I just want a capable actor, to be honest. The best actors often are unknown at first.
Yeah.
So, and Tom Baker wasn't really much of a known actor, and look at what he was as the Doctor.
Yeah, I think Ted agrees with you there as well.
Hey, Ted.
Holy shit. Sorry about that. Ted's been a bit of a silly boy.
I actually have to rush now, Noel.
Yeah, but no problem. But listen, Jack, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on. It was nice to hear from you.
I've also got some artwork I'll just show real quick. It's for your channel. I'm doing a poster for you like you asked for.
Ah, lovely.
Hold on, I'll just put it on the screen.
Oh, let's have a look. Oh,
My screen.
Why did I remove Jack? There we go. I was to remove me. Sorry, hold on.
So that's you, Daniel, just in case you're wondering. Yeah, and then up here you got Lee. And I haven't quite finished everyone yet, but yeah.
Man, that's fantastic, there is. That's brilliant. Can't wait to see it. Wow. That's brilliant. Right, well, there's your channel, Jack. It's in the chat. Chris put it in there. So
Thanks,
go
Chris.
and check out his channel there, folks, and subscribe. But Jack, again, I want to say thank you very much for coming on tonight. It was really nice to hear about your thoughts on RTD, and let's hope there's a brighter future ahead. But you can go ahead, mate, and head off. And again, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. See you later.
See you later, Noel. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that's it, folks. That was Jack there. I have to say that was a nice little bit of artwork to finish the night off on. But yeah, as I said, I promised Jack to do this stream, and obviously you know, he was on the panels where we were talking about RTD, but never really got a chance to say the things that he wanted to say. So I'm glad he was able to come on tonight and tell everybody how he felt. So yeah, that's it. What day are we at? It's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously, what I might do is I might have a look at that Paste magazine article, and I might do a video tomorrow and talk about it, because very interesting, that Bad Wolf. And I'll actually show you the original tweet that they retweeted, because I posted it up on my own Twitter account, just in case any of the, you know, fans of this era say that it was photoshopped. I actually have the original tweet on the account there. I retweeted it. So I'll probably do a video on that tomorrow and discuss that. Very interesting, because the deniers will say that this era has been a success and that the show doesn't need saving, and that it's all their fault because we're all sexist and we couldn't handle the fact that the Doctor was a female, and you know, and it's all their fault. But the reality of the situation was this: whether we agreed with a female Doctor or not, the main failure is Chris Chibnall. And the reason why he's the main failure is because he never gave Jodie Whittaker the right advice when playing the Doctor, or never gave her any direction, or none of his directors gave her any direction, because she was cosplaying the 10th and the 11th Doctor on occasion. She never played the role herself. He gave her the wrong advice by telling her not to research the role, which any good actress worth a grain of salt actually would have done anyway, but she didn't until it was too late. But most of the blame is down to Chris Chibnall, because his writing was absolutely dire. Now, again, BBC, you know, articles are out there, and they're coming down hard on the BBC, and they're saying that BBC basically admitted by putting that 15-minute video up about Doctor Who Flux of Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker trying to explain what it was all about, that was the BBC admitting failure. It was failure. We've been saying this for the last 5 years. All the decisions that were made on this show, and were made for the benefit of this show, according to the people that were actually running the show, were actually harming the show. The show has never been a success under this era whatsoever. It's all been a big fat lie. And finally, media are copping on. They're 5 years too late, by the way. And I'll never forgive the media, because they're the ones that actually fanned the fuel in the fire when they said that anybody that had a problem with Jodie Whittaker's casting as the Doctor was a sexist piece of shit. Right? So they set the tone. And then, of course, these little muppets that are in the fandom that think they know everything about Doctor Who told us that this show wasn't for us anymore, and then labelled us every name under the sun. That's all down to Chris Chibnall and his team, because of the rhetoric that they were bloody putting out there. So, you know, RTD will not make those mistakes. I don't believe he will. I believe he will do right by Doctor Who. But this conversation, that the other side had, well, it was a failure because of us. It wasn't a failure because of us. It was a failure because your showrunner didn't know how to write a female Doctor, didn't do her justice, and gave her crap scripts. And that's the bottom line. And as I said, it's irrelevant whether fans in this fandom thought a female Doctor was a good idea or not. That argument sailed a long time ago. It was all got to do with the writing and how he got his actress to portray the Doctor. She had none of her own personality in it either. She was copying other Doctors that we love and know, and that's the sad reality of it. She wasn't given proper direction either, and that's all down to the main man who was in charge, which was Chris Chibnall. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have had a good night. And thank you again for showing us that artwork, Jack, at the end. That was really nice. I look forward to seeing the whole lot of it completed. Remember, my head has to be the biggest head because obviously I'm the leader of this, not my Dr. Hate group apparently that I run. So make sure that I'm the head leader, as you know. Yeah, another thing that's bloody stupid. I just have to laugh. But look, good thing about it is the countdown is well underway for RTD's second coming, and as I said, that's the way I'm going to look at it now. You know, this era is finally coming to an end. These fans will not have Doctor Who to use as a platform anymore to think that they have moral superiority over the rest of the fans in this fandom anymore. Because RTD certainly won't pander to them. RTD will write the best Doctor Who that he can write, and he will appeal to all fans and all people out there truly. As Chris Chibnall once said, or his logo or his slogan for one of his series was space for all. Under RTD, that will be realised truly. Doctor Who will be for everybody. RTD will not exclude anybody. It'll be a show that we can all be proud of. And I honestly do believe that. And on comic says, all hail Noel, our leader. as if. Well, good night, folks. Have a good one. I'll probably have a pre-record up tomorrow, as I said, talking about that article. And I'll talk to you during the week as well. Until then, good night. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, please. This is the channel where you'll get honest opinion, and different opinion, believe it or not. We do have different opinions on this channel. So subscribe if you haven't already. And welcome to all of my new subscribers and everybody to this community. You'll find it's one of the nicest in the Doctor Who fandom. They're a lovely bunch in the chat. So they'll make you feel welcome. But welcome to all the new subscribers. And we will talk to you until the end of the year and then into the new year. So come and stay with us because we'll have plenty on the channel next year. A lot of exciting things going to be happening as well. Good night, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.